You might be surprised to learn that the Rode PodMic was first released in early 2018, making it now a 6-year-old model. And at the rate that tech progresses, 6 years is a very long time. So why would anyone buy a microphone that's now 6 years old? We might also be surprised to learn that microphone technology really hasn't changed for a very long time. Even the legendary Shure SM7 was first developed over 50 years ago, way back in 1973. With the design fundamentally the same as it is today. So with that in mind, longevity of audio products is actually a sign that it's a well-trusted and respected product. So in this video, I'm going to go through the Rode PodMic build quality and the aesthetics, and then I'm going to go through how it sounds from 3 different angles. How it sounds out of the box with no EQ applied. Then I'm going to apply some basic EQ and see what a difference that makes. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the Rodecaster Duo, which you might have been looking at if you are looking at Rode products, especially for a podcasting setup or a streaming setup. And lastly, I'll just share my final thoughts on the Rode PodMic. And this is all going to be from the point of view of someone who's not a huge audio nerd. But for me, I'm just really interested in whether or not it's easy to use and whether it sounds good to the average person on the internet, to the average content creator like you and me. So with all that said, let's get into the build quality and the aesthetic of this microphone. To be honest, I think when I first saw the PodMic online and in other people's videos, I just somehow wasn't overly impressed. However, when I actually got my hands on it and saw it in real life, I actually kind of fell in love with the look of it. I think it's just got a really classic kind of timeless look, especially that silver on black. I actually really like. I like the overall simplicity of the design, especially considering it's just literally that single XLR output and then the microphone. There's no extra buttons, there's no screens. It's essentially just a microphone, which I actually kind of like. But I think the big thing that tipped me over in terms of the design of this mic was the build quality. And I was really taken by surprise because I thought for a microphone that's literally $100 US, I wasn't really expecting that much. But this thing feels like super solid and it's surprisingly heavy. Like I weighed it on my coffee scale and it came in at just over 880 grams, which is just under 2 pounds, I believe, for all of you guys in America. And it's just super solid. Like the whole thing is made out of metal, apart from the tightening knobs and the back casing area around the XLR output, which are both made of plastic, although that plastic feels, again, really high quality. But the rest of the mic is metal. And I totally expect this to last like ages. Like it's easily going to last another 6 years in my opinion. I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to find any other microphones out there for $100 that have build quality this high, which is something that I've been impressed with when it comes to Rode products. Like I also got the Rode PSA-1 Plus, which is incredibly high quality. The NTH 100 headphones, which feel really nice and are super comfy. And then of course the Rodecaster Duo, which I'll talk more about later, also feels super high quality. So in general, I'm just really impressed with the build quality and the aesthetic of the PodMic. Okay, so next let's get into the sound quality of the PodMic, because that's obviously more important than the aesthetic. So right now you're hearing the PodMic with no EQ. This is straight out of the microphone. And again, my thoughts are from the perspective of someone who doesn't have heaps of audio training, and to my relatively untrained ear, the PodMic kind of sounds a little bit flat when it comes straight out of the microphone. Like there's not a lot of low end when I compare it to my previous microphone, and it doesn't sound quite as full as I wanted to. However, I've got a good mate who knows a lot more about audio than I do, and he basically explained to me that this is actually a good thing. And the reason being is that a more flat profile of audio means that I can push it around and equalize it a lot more to my liking in post. So he said when you've got a lot of bass baked into a microphone, it's a lot harder to adjust it and take that bass out when you get it into post, versus an audio signal like what you get from the PodMic that's a lot more flat. You've got a lot more versatility to tweak it to sound exactly how you want to. So what does that mean for your average content creator like you and me? I think it basically means if you're looking for a plug and play microphone that's going to sound amazing straight out of the box and you don't have to do any extra work with it, then maybe the PodMic isn't quite right for you, especially if you don't have any experience when it comes to equalization and audio correction, and or you don't want the extra expense of having to buy an interface. However, if you do have a bit more experience when it comes to audio equalization and adjustment, and you want a microphone that that you can really dial in to suit your particular voice, then the PodMic might be a good option. And that leads me to the second part of my audio testing, which is going in and applying some basic EQ to the raw audio. So now the audio you're hearing, I've applied basically just a simple parametric EQ plus a bit of compression. And let me know in the comments what you think of how it sounds now. Is there a huge difference? Is there not a lot of difference? And I'll show you on screen what I did with the parametric EQ. It was pretty basic. I essentially just boosted the low end a little bit and then cut some of the mids and some of the high end. And the result to me is pretty much exactly the sound that I'm looking for. It sounds really full, it sounds really clear and sharp. And especially for someone like me who tends to mumble a bit, I think it's ideal because hopefully it means you can hear me quite clearly. And to me, I think it sounds incredible, especially when you consider the fact that this is a $100 microphone. It's essentially the perfect podcasting or vocal microphone, which is what it's designed for as a podcasting mic. So what does this mean for the typical content creator like you and me? It basically means if you're comfortable adding a bit of EQ in post and you want a microphone that you can really tailor to your particular voice, then I just can't see how you can possibly go wrong picking up the PodMic, especially if you've already got an audio interface. This is going to give you such a nice base to work from to really tweak it and dial it in to make your voice sound good. Then to me, it's just a really attractive option. Also, if you're setting up like a multi-mic podcast setup and you don't want to spend like thousands of dollars on microphones, then you can buy 4 of these PodMics for the same price of a single Shure SM7B. So that's something to factor in as well, which leads me to the final test, which is pairing the PodMic with the Rodecaster Duo. And I'm going to do a full review on the Rodecaster Duo, so let me know if you've got any questions or things you want to know about it. But if you're not familiar with the Duo, then it's essentially a all-in-one production studio, which is how Rode markets it. And it's essentially an audio interface so that you can plug in XLR microphones. It also acts as a mixer, so you can adjust the levels of different audio inputs. It's got a whole bunch of vocal effects and sound effects that you can apply. But most importantly for this video, it's got presets for microphones with inbuilt EQ effects and also things like compressors, de-essers, and that type of thing. So what you're currently hearing is how the PodMic sounds through the Rodecaster Duo with the inbuilt preset applied. And this applies a whole bunch of things, including an equalizer, a high pass filter, a de-esser, an exciter. And the beauty of it is if you don't know what any of that means, it's all applying it for you. You don't have to think about it. And that to me is kind of the main benefit of pairing the PodMic with the Duo, is that you can get that really nice EQ'd audio in essentially a plug and play format, because all you have to do is plug the PodMic into the Duo, hit the preset, and you're pretty much good to go. And this is especially useful if you're recording things that you're going to have less control over in post, for example, podcasts or live streams, because then you can apply that equalization to your voice as you're recording. You don't have to tweak it later. So let me know in the comments, what do you think of the sound of the PodMic with the preset applied on the Duo? And again, what does that mean for the average creator like you and me? I think if you're buying the PodMic for a podcast or for streaming, then it makes sense to get the Duo as well, especially if you're doing a multi-microphone setup. You're just going to be able to get great results with the pair. So lastly, in summary, what are my final thoughts on the Rode PodMic? Essentially, my thoughts are that I think it's a brilliant little mic, especially when you consider the price. And I can definitely see why it's still really popular after 6 years. The build quality really just couldn't be any better. I just don't think you could ask for more from a $100 microphone. And then the audio quality with a little bit of EQ is brilliant. So I definitely recommend checking it out. If you are looking at picking it up, then feel free to use my affiliate link in the description, because it just helps support my channel, which I really appreciate. And I might do a comparison video between the PodMic and my previous Shure MV7. So if you're interested in seeing that, then leave me a comment. But in the meantime, I've already made a review of the Shure MV7, which you're welcome to check out here.